Stop scrolling. Your soulmate is waiting on one sign from you before giving up completely. Listen to this, because if these words found you right now, there is a reason your heart paused here. Something has been shifting quietly behind the scenes, something you may not be able to see with your physical eyes yet, but something your spirit has already started to feel. Your soulmate has been standing at an emotional crossroads, caught between reaching toward you one more time and finally convincing themselves that they need to let go. And what makes this so powerful is that they are not asking for a huge gesture, a dramatic confession, or some impossible proof of love. They are waiting for one sign from you. Just one. And if that sign appears, they may finally believe that the door between you is still open. But if it doesn't, they may make a decision that they have been fighting against for longer than you realize. Don't scroll. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. There has been a strange emotional distance between you and this person, but distance has not erased what they feel. If anything, it has forced them to sit alone with memories they once tried to avoid. They remember the little things about you that nobody else would understand. They remember your voice, your expressions, the way you looked at them when you knew they were hiding something, the conversations that stayed in their mind long after they ended. They remember moments that seemed ordinary at the time but now feel precious because they understand what those moments actually meant. And lately, they have been asking themselves a question they never wanted to ask: do they still want me in their life? That question has been following them into quiet nights, busy mornings, long drives, random moments at work, and even places where they expected to feel completely distracted. They can move through their day, smile at people, handle responsibilities, and pretend everything is fine, but underneath all of that, your memory keeps returning. This message is for you, because there is something you need to understand about their silence. Their silence does not necessarily mean indifference. Sometimes silence is what happens when someone has too much emotion and not enough courage to express it. Sometimes a person pulls away because they are afraid of what they might hear if they finally ask for the truth. Your soulmate may have been protecting their pride, protecting their heart, or simply trying to convince themselves that you have already moved on. And now they are watching from a distance, trying to read the smallest clues. A song that reminds them of you can change their entire mood. A familiar place can bring back an entire chapter of memories. Seeing your name, hearing something connected to you, or unexpectedly remembering something you once said can make them wonder whether the connection is truly finished. Don't scroll. Your heart needs this right now, because the universe is bringing attention to something very specific. You may have noticed repeated numbers lately. Maybe 111 appears when you think about starting over. Maybe 222 shows up when you're questioning whether to trust the connection. Maybe 444 appears during moments when you desperately need reassurance. Maybe 555 keeps appearing when you feel that some kind of change is approaching. And perhaps you have been wondering whether these signs mean anything. Spiritually, many people interpret repeating numbers as reminders to pause, reflect, and pay attention to what is happening within themselves. But here's the deeper message: the sign you are waiting for may not arrive as something dramatic in the sky. It may come through something simple, something natural, something that reveals whether both of you are still emotionally connected. Your soulmate is not necessarily waiting for you to chase them. In fact, they may be waiting for evidence that reaching toward you will not lead to rejection. They are afraid of making the first move and discovering that you no longer care. They are afraid that the silence has changed everything. They are afraid that you have healed enough to close the door permanently. And that fear is becoming stronger because they can sense that you are different now. You have changed. You may not even realize how much you've changed, but they do. Your energy feels different. Your boundaries feel stronger. Your presence feels less available to uncertainty. And that has made them realize something they didn't fully appreciate before. They cannot assume you will always be there waiting. Listen to this. This message is for you. There was a time when they may have believed they could come back whenever they were ready. They thought time would always be available. They thought you would understand their hesitation. They thought their feelings would somehow remain frozen until they finally found the courage to act. But now they are beginning to understand that love does not work that way. People grow. Hearts heal. Priorities change. And sometimes the person you were afraid to lose becomes the person you actually lose because you waited too long. That realization has been hitting them hard. They are looking back at the moments when they could have spoken and didn't. They remember opportunities they allowed to pass. They remember messages they almost sent. They remember conversations they avoided because they were scared of where honesty might lead. And now they are wondering whether there is still a chance. That is why this one sign matters so much. It isn't simply about getting attention from you. It represents safety. It represents permission to approach. It represents the possibility that their feelings may still have a place in your heart. And right now, they are watching carefully. They may not admit it. They may not show it. They may even act as though they have completely moved on. But underneath that surface, there is a part of them still waiting. Don't scroll. There is more to this. Your soulmate has been experiencing their own awakening. They have been forced to confront patterns within themselves that once prevented them from loving openly. Maybe they were afraid of vulnerability. Maybe they had been hurt before. Maybe they didn't know how to communicate what they felt. Maybe they confused distance with protection. Maybe they believed staying silent would prevent heartbreak. But silence didn't make the feelings disappear. It only gave those feelings more room to grow. And now they are beginning to recognize the difference between avoiding a connection and actually healing from it. They are realizing that avoiding you never gave them true peace. It only gave them temporary distraction. There is a difference between forgetting someone and learning how to live with missing them. And this person has not completely forgotten you. They have been carrying the unfinished emotional weight of this connection. That doesn't automatically mean a reunion is guaranteed, but it does mean the story still occupies a meaningful place in their heart. Your soulmate may have recently had a moment that brought everything back. Maybe they heard a song. Maybe they saw someone who reminded them of you. Maybe they had a vivid dream. Maybe a friend mentioned something that unexpectedly connected to your past. Maybe they simply sat alone one night and realized they were tired of pretending they didn't care. Whatever the trigger was, something made them look at the connection differently. And now they are asking themselves whether they should reach out before it is too late. Listen closely, because this is where the emotional tension becomes deeper. They are not only wondering whether you still love them. They are wondering whether they still deserve a place in your life. Those are two very different questions. They know they may have disappointed you. They know their silence may have hurt you. They know there were moments when their actions didn't match their feelings. And even if they had reasons, they are beginning to understand that explanations don't erase emotional consequences. That realization has humbled them. They may be thinking, What if I reach out and they don't respond? What if they have finally moved on? What if I waited until it was too late? Those questions are creating an internal battle. One part of them wants to run toward you. Another part tells them to protect themselves and accept the distance. And somewhere between those two voices is the one sign they are waiting for. Your heart needs this right now. You may be wondering what you are supposed to do with this information. And the answer is not to panic, chase, force, or manufacture a sign just because you are afraid they will disappear. You are not being asked to prove your worth. You are not being asked to abandon your boundaries. You are not being asked to beg someone to choose you. The energy around this message is about clarity, not desperation. If there is something genuine between two people, it should not require you to destroy your peace just to keep the connection alive. The sign they are waiting for should come from authenticity, not fear. And that is exactly why the universe may be bringing this message to you now. You have been learning how to love without losing yourself. You have been learning that waiting for someone should never mean putting your entire life on pause. You have been learning to recognize the difference between intuition and anxiety, between hope and obsession, between patience and self-abandonment. And your soulmate is being forced to learn something too. They are learning that if they truly want you, they cannot remain hidden forever. At some point, they must communicate. At some point, they must take responsibility for their feelings. At some point, they must risk vulnerability. But before they do, they are looking for one small indication that their effort will not be rejected immediately. Don't scroll, because the next part of this message goes even deeper. There is a reason you may have been thinking about this person more frequently lately. There is a reason certain memories seem to be resurfacing. There is a reason you may suddenly feel an urge to check your phone, revisit an old conversation, listen to a familiar song, or wonder what they are doing. These experiences can feel incredibly intense when you are emotionally connected to someone, especially when there is unfinished business. But instead of allowing those feelings to control you, use them as an invitation to listen inwardly. Ask yourself what you truly want. Not what you want because you are afraid of losing them. Not what you want because you are lonely tonight. Not what you want because you saw a number on a clock. What do you genuinely want if you remove fear from the equation? Because that answer matters. Your soulmate may be waiting for a sign, but you also deserve a sign from them. You deserve consistency. You deserve honesty. You deserve effort that matches words. You deserve a connection where you don't have to constantly decode silence. And perhaps that is the deeper spiritual lesson unfolding here. The universe is not simply asking whether they will come back. It is asking whether they can come back differently. That distinction changes everything. Because a reunion without growth simply recreates the same cycle. A return without honesty brings the same confusion. A message without accountability creates another temporary emotional high. But if both people have grown, if both people can communicate, if both people are willing to meet each other with maturity, then the connection can become something healthier than what it was before. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Your soulmate is standing at the edge of a decision. They are looking toward you, remembering what was, wondering what could still be, and trying to determine whether there is enough light coming from your side to take one final step forward. They don't need you to chase them. They don't need a dramatic declaration. They need clarity. And soon, something may happen that makes the answer much easier for both of you to understand. A small interaction. A subtle message. An unexpected encounter. A reaction. A coincidence that feels strangely timed. Something that causes them to stop and think, maybe I still have a chance. But don't assume you have to force that moment. Let what is genuine reveal itself naturally. Because the strongest connections don't need manipulation. They need truth. And there is still something about this story you haven't seen yet. The one sign they are waiting for may be much simpler, much more emotional, and much closer to your everyday life than you expect. And when you understand what it really means, you may realize that this entire period of silence was not only about them deciding whether to return. It was also about you deciding what kind of love you are willing to receive. Don't scroll. Stay with this message, because what comes next will reveal why your soulmate has been holding back, what they have secretly been hoping to see from you, and why this one sign could become the moment that finally changes the direction of this connection. Listen to this, because the part you are about to hear explains why your soulmate has been waiting so carefully for that one sign, and why their silence has felt so different lately. They are not simply sitting around wondering whether you still care. They are watching for something that will tell them whether opening their heart again is safe. And your heart needs this right now, because there is a difference between someone wanting your attention and someone being genuinely afraid of losing you. This person has reached a point where the thought of permanently losing the connection is becoming more painful than the fear of approaching you. Don't scroll. Something has been changing inside them. The more time passes, the more they realize that silence has not given them the peace they expected. They thought distance would make everything easier. They thought enough time would eventually quiet the memories. They thought they could move forward without looking back. But instead, the quiet has made them hear their own heart more clearly. They are remembering the moments they dismissed, the words they never said, the chances they allowed to pass. And now they are beginning to understand that what they felt for you was not something they could simply turn off because circumstances became complicated. There is a part of them that still wonders what would happen if they reached out today. Would you answer? Would you smile? Would you be cold? Would you forgive them? Would you even recognize the person they have become? These questions have been circling through their mind, especially when they are alone. Listen to this. Your soulmate has been going through an emotional awakening, and that awakening is making them see the past differently. They are beginning to recognize where fear controlled their decisions. They are seeing how pride created distance. They are understanding how hesitation can become its own form of rejection. And perhaps the hardest realization of all is this: they may have expected you to wait forever without ever giving you a reason to. That realization is forcing them to confront themselves. They are asking whether they deserve another opportunity, and whether they have the courage to show you that they are no longer the same person who walked away or stayed silent. This is why the one sign matters so much. They are not looking for perfection. They are looking for evidence that the door is not completely closed. They need to know that if they take a step toward you, there is somewhere for that step to land. Don't scroll. Your heart needs this right now. There may have been moments recently when you felt strangely pulled toward your phone. Maybe you thought about them and then saw their names somewhere unexpected. Maybe a familiar song appeared at exactly the wrong, or right, moment. Maybe you woke from a dream with their face still fresh in your mind. Maybe you noticed repeating numbers like 111, 222, 444, or 555 and felt an immediate connection to this person. Whether you see those things as spiritual signs or simply meaningful reminders, they can become moments that make you pause and reflect on what your heart is actually trying to tell you. And this is important: don't let the signs make you abandon your discernment. Let them make you more aware. The universe does not need you to chase someone into choosing you. Your role is not to force destiny. Your role is to remain honest with yourself about what you want and what you are willing to accept. Your soulmate has their own responsibility. If they truly want another chance, they must eventually communicate clearly. They must move beyond hints. They must move beyond watching from a distance. They must move beyond hoping you will somehow read their mind. And something inside them is beginning to understand that. Listen closely, because this is where their fear begins turning into courage. They have imagined reaching out more times than you know. In their mind, they have created entire conversations. They have imagined what they would say if you answered immediately. They have imagined what they would say if you asked why they disappeared. They have imagined apologizing. They have imagined telling you what they were really feeling when they couldn't find the words. They have even imagined the possibility that you might reject them, and that possibility scares them more than they want anyone to know. But something has changed. Before, the fear of rejection was stronger than the desire to speak. Now, the fear of never speaking is becoming stronger than the fear of hearing no. That is a major emotional shift. Don't scroll. This message is for you. There is a reason they may appear calm on the outside while feeling completely unsettled inside. They don't want you to know how deeply this affects them. Pride may still be involved. They may still be trying to protect their image. They may still tell themselves they are fine. But beneath that surface is a person questioning whether they waited too long. They may be wondering if someone else has entered your life. They may wonder whether your heart belongs to another person now. They may wonder if the version of you they remember still exists. And the thought that you might have moved forward without them is creating urgency. They are beginning to understand that you are not a permanent option waiting on a shelf. You have your own life. You have your own dreams. You have your own healing. You have the right to move forward. And that truth is making them realize that if they want to be part of your future, they cannot continue living in the past. Your heart needs this right now because this is not about convincing someone to return. It is about seeing whether someone is willing to meet you where you are now. The universe may be bringing this connection back into your awareness not because you are supposed to abandon your life and wait, but because something unfinished deserves clarity. Sometimes the greatest spiritual breakthrough isn't reunion. Sometimes it is finally understanding what a connection taught you. Sometimes it is closure. Sometimes it is a second chance. And sometimes it is a completely new beginning built from lessons learned through the old one. But whatever happens, you do not need to lose yourself to find out. Listen to this. Your soulmate is approaching a moment where they must make a choice. They can continue protecting their pride, or they can risk vulnerability. They can continue wondering what you feel, or they can ask. They can continue watching from a distance, or they can step forward. They can allow fear to write the ending, or they can finally tell the truth. And the one sign they are waiting for is connected to one simple question: is there still a place for me in their heart? That question is much deeper than curiosity. It carries regret, hope, fear, and longing all at once. They are trying to understand whether your silence means healing or rejection. They are trying to determine whether you are protecting yourself or whether you have truly stopped caring. And because they cannot read your heart, they are looking for something small that reveals the answer. Don't scroll. The next part matters. Your soulmate may have noticed that you are no longer behaving the way you once did. Maybe you stopped chasing. Maybe you stopped checking. Maybe you stopped reacting to everything they did. Maybe you became quieter. Maybe you started focusing more on yourself. And that change has been louder than any words could have been. When someone is used to knowing that you are emotionally available, your absence can force them to recognize your value. They may be realizing that your energy was something they took for granted. They may be remembering how much comfort your presence gave them. They may be comparing other interactions to what they experienced with you and noticing the difference. And that comparison is not necessarily about another person. It is about how they felt when they were around you. Safe. Seen. Understood. Challenged. Accepted. Maybe you saw parts of them they didn't know how to show anyone else. That is why this connection continues to live in their thoughts. They are not only missing you. They are missing the version of themselves that existed around you. The version that felt understood. The version that could dream bigger. The version that believed something meaningful was possible. Listen closely. There is another layer to this. Your soulmate may have experienced a recent moment of emotional clarity that made them realize they cannot keep postponing the truth. It could have happened during a quiet night, after a conversation with someone they trust, while listening to a song, or simply when they realized how long it had been since they heard from you. Sometimes awakening doesn't arrive as a dramatic miracle. Sometimes it arrives as a quiet realization that keeps repeating until you can no longer ignore it. And their realization may be this: if I don't do something now, I may lose my chance forever. That thought can change everything. Because suddenly the person who was waiting for the perfect moment understands there may never be a perfect moment. There may only be a brave moment. And that is the kind of energy building around this connection now. Don't scroll. Your heart needs this right now. But I want you to hear something that protects your heart while you listen to this message. Do not mistake anticipation for certainty. Do not put your life on hold waiting for a text. Do not interpret every number, song, dream, or coincidence as proof that someone is coming back. Let the message inspire reflection, not dependence. If this person is meant to return, their actions will eventually speak. If they are sincere, they will communicate. If they have changed, you will see evidence of that change. And if they are ready for something real, they will not expect you to carry the entire connection alone. Your worth does not depend on whether they choose you. Your worth existed before they met you, and it will remain whether they return or not. Your soulmate may be waiting for one sign, but you are also allowed to wait for one thing from them: consistency. That is the real test. Not words. Not promises. Not mysterious signs. Not emotional late-night messages. Consistency. Effort. Honesty. Respect. If they return, let them show you who they are now. Let them earn access to the heart you worked so hard to protect. This is where your own awakening becomes just as important as theirs. You've been learning to stop chasing answers and start trusting yourself. You've been learning that love should feel expansive, not suffocating. You've been learning that someone can be deeply important to you without becoming the center of your entire existence. And perhaps that is exactly why this moment is arriving now. You are stronger than you were before. You are clearer than you were before. You are less willing to accept confusion as love. And your soulmate may be sensing that. They may be realizing that if they want you, they have to approach the version of you that exists today, not the version who once waited endlessly for them. Listen to this. The energy is building toward a moment of truth. Something small could happen that suddenly changes the emotional temperature between you. A message. A reaction. An unexpected encounter. A mutual connection mentioning something. A subtle gesture that seems ordinary to everyone else but means something very different to the two of you. And when that happens, you may finally understand why this person has been so quiet. You may realize that behind the silence was not emptiness but fear. Behind the distance was not necessarily indifference but uncertainty. Behind the hesitation was someone who didn't know whether they were still welcome in your world. But there is one more thing you need to know. The sign they are waiting for may not be the sign you think it is. It may not require you to say, "I still love you." It may not require a dramatic confession. It may not require you to chase them. It could be something much more powerful because it tells them that your heart is open without telling them that they can take you for granted. And once you understand that, you will see the entire situation differently. Don't scroll. Stay with me, because the final part will bring everything together. It will reveal what this one sign truly means, why your soulmate has been watching so closely for it, what could happen when they finally receive it, and most importantly, what you should remember about your own worth when that moment arrives. The silence has been building toward something. Their fear has been building toward a choice. Your healing has been building toward clarity. And now all three are approaching the same point. The next sign may be subtle, but the emotional impact could be enormous. So breathe. Don't chase. Don't panic. Stay grounded. Let truth reveal itself through action. Because when the moment comes, you won't need to force it. You will know what you want. And they will finally have to decide whether they are brave enough to step forward. Listen closely, because this is where everything you've been feeling finally begins to make sense, and your heart needs to hear this right now. You've been waiting for one sign, one movement, one undeniable indication that the connection between you and your soulmate was not something you imagined, and now the energy around this situation is reaching its final turning point. Your soulmate has been standing at an emotional crossroads, looking back at everything that happened between you, remembering the moments they should have handled differently, remembering the words they left unsaid, and most importantly, realizing that their silence has been costing them something they may never be able to replace. Don't scroll, because the final truth is much deeper than simply whether they miss you. They have been asking themselves whether you still have a place for them in your life, whether your heart has completely closed its door, and whether there is still one small sign from you that would tell them it is safe to come forward. They don't need you to chase them. They don't need a dramatic declaration. They don't need you to prove your love. What they've been looking for is something much smaller but much more powerful. A sign that you haven't completely forgotten them, that the connection still means something to you, that if they finally gather the courage to speak, they won't be walking straight into rejection. Listen to this, because your soulmate has been carrying this question quietly: do I still have a chance? And that question has been following them into their mornings, into their nights, into moments when they are surrounded by other people but somehow still feel alone. They've tried to convince themselves that they should move forward, that enough time has passed, that maybe you no longer care, but every time they attempt to close the emotional chapter, something pulls them back. A memory. A song. A familiar place. A dream. A name. A number appearing at the exact moment they think about you. They may see 111 when wondering whether a new beginning is possible, 222 when questioning whether the connection can be restored, 444 when they need reassurance, or 555 when they feel that something has to change. And whether you personally interpret those signs spiritually or simply as meaningful reminders, the important part is what those moments have awakened inside them. They can no longer pretend that the past has no emotional weight. Your soulmate has been confronting the consequences of their own choices, and that realization has changed them. There was a time when they believed silence would protect them. They thought staying away would make their feelings disappear. They thought if they kept themselves busy, avoided memories, and refused to acknowledge the deeper emotions, eventually everything would become easier. But it didn't. The silence didn't erase the connection. It made them understand it more clearly. Don't scroll, because this is the part you've been waiting to hear. Your soulmate has finally realized that losing access to you is different from simply losing contact with someone. They are beginning to understand that your presence brought something into their life that they didn't appreciate fully at the time. Maybe it was peace. Maybe it was emotional safety. Maybe it was the feeling of being understood without having to explain every part of themselves. Maybe it was the way you believed in them when they couldn't believe in themselves. And now, when they compare that feeling with everything that came afterward, the difference has become impossible to ignore. They may have met other people. They may have tried to distract themselves. They may have even told themselves they were completely fine. But deep inside, there remained an unfinished conversation between their heart and yours. And that unfinished conversation is why they have been watching for a sign. Your soulmate doesn't want to return to the same version of the connection that existed before. This is important. They don't want to repeat old patterns. They don't want another cycle of confusion, distance, mixed signals, pride, and emotional silence. Something inside them has matured. They understand now that if they come toward you again, they have to come differently. They have to come with honesty. They have to be willing to communicate. They have to acknowledge what happened. They have to take responsibility for the part they played. And that realization is exactly why their next move feels so serious. Listen to this, because the energy is no longer about simply missing you. It is about deciding whether they are brave enough to risk vulnerability. They've been imagining what would happen if they reached out. They imagine your name appearing on their screen. They imagine typing the first sentence. They imagine deleting it and writing it again. They wonder whether they should say, "I miss you," whether they should apologize, whether they should explain what happened, or whether they should simply ask how you've been. But underneath every possible message is one deeper question: will you let me back in? And this is where your power matters. You are not being asked to chase. You are not being asked to beg. You are not being asked to abandon your boundaries just because someone finally realizes your value. Your sign can be simple. Your sign can be openness without desperation. Your sign can be allowing the truth to reveal itself without forcing the outcome. Your sign can be choosing peace while remaining receptive to genuine communication. Don't scroll, because the universe is reminding you that love should not require you to lose yourself. If this person is truly ready, their actions will eventually speak louder than their fears. They will not expect you to do all the emotional work. They will meet you halfway. They will show you through consistency that their awakening is real. And that is the revelation your heart needs most. The purpose of this journey was never simply to make you wait for someone. It was to transform you while you were waiting. You have become stronger. You've learned what you will and will not accept. You've discovered that your worth doesn't depend on whether someone chooses you. You've learned how to sit with uncertainty without allowing it to destroy your peace. And that growth has changed the entire dynamic. Your soulmate can feel, in whatever way this connection is experienced, that you are no longer standing in the same emotional place where they left you. You are different now. And that difference is what makes them realize that if they want another opportunity, they cannot approach you with the same energy as before. This is why the sign they're waiting for may not even be a literal message from you. It could be the absence of resistance. It could be the feeling that you are no longer angry. It could be a chance encounter. It could be seeing something that reminds them of you at exactly the right moment. It could simply be the courage to stop making excuses and finally speak. And when that moment arrives, something inside them will click. They will understand that waiting for perfect timing has become another form of fear. Listen closely. Sometimes the sign someone is waiting for is not something the universe sends, it is the courage they finally find within themselves. And that is what is happening here. Their heart has been asking for permission, but their soul has been asking for courage. They have been looking outward for confirmation when the real answer has been growing inside them. They already know what they feel. They already know what they regret. They already know what they want to say. The only thing remaining is whether they are willing to act. And this is where the story reaches its climax. There is a moment coming when the emotional pressure becomes greater than the fear. A moment when they realize that if they continue waiting for you to make everything safe for them, they may lose the opportunity completely. They will have to choose. Stay silent and live with the unanswered questions, or step forward and finally tell the truth. And your soulmate is moving closer to choosing truth. Don't scroll, because the final revelation is not simply that they want you back. It is that they finally understand what it would mean to lose you permanently. For a long time, they may have assumed you would always be there. They may have believed there would always be another chance, another conversation, another opportunity to explain themselves. But your growth, your distance, your boundaries, and your silence have shown them something they never expected: you are capable of moving forward. You are capable of building a beautiful life without waiting for them. And that realization has awakened urgency. They don't want to discover years from now that the person they were afraid to approach became the person they could no longer reach. Your soulmate is beginning to understand that love is not only about feeling. It is about action. It is about timing. It is about courage. It is about showing up when it matters. And if they truly mean what their heart has been telling them, they will eventually have to prove it. Your role is not to force that moment. Your role is to remain grounded enough to recognize the difference between genuine effort and temporary emotion. Your heart deserves clarity, not confusion. Your heart deserves consistency, not breadcrumbs. Your heart deserves someone who can speak honestly instead of making you decode silence. This is why the final sign is not just for them. It is for you. You are being reminded that you don't have to abandon your standards to receive love. You don't have to become smaller so someone else feels comfortable approaching you. You don't have to chase someone who is meant to meet you halfway. And if this person does return, let their actions reveal whether they are truly ready. Let them speak. Let them explain. Let them show you what has changed. Let time reveal whether their awakening is temporary or real. Listen to this, because this is where peace replaces anticipation. You may have spent so much time wondering what they were thinking, what they were feeling, whether they remembered you, whether they cared, whether they would ever return. But you don't have to carry every unanswered question anymore. The next chapter does not require you to predict everything. It requires you to trust yourself. If they reach out, you will know how to respond. If they speak honestly, you will know how to listen. If they apologize, you will know whether their actions support their words. And if they don't come, you will still continue forward knowing that your life is not waiting for someone else's decision. That is your final freedom. That is your awakening. Your soulmate may be waiting for one sign from you, but heaven is giving you a different sign. Remember your worth. Remember how far you've come. Remember that love should feel like expansion, not constant uncertainty. Remember that the right connection will not require you to lose your peace just to keep it alive. And perhaps the most beautiful twist is that the sign your soulmate has been waiting for may simply be the realization that you are no longer chasing them. Your silence may be telling them more than words ever could. Your growth may be the message. Your boundaries may be the message. Your peace may be the message. Your ability to keep living, loving, healing, and becoming stronger may be exactly what finally pushes them to understand what they had. Don't scroll. Your heart needs this final truth: if they are meant to return, they will have to return with intention. Not just emotion. Not just nostalgia. Not just loneliness. Intention. They will need to come forward because they are ready to build something different, healthier, and more honest. And if they do, you will not need to convince yourself that it is real. Their consistency will tell you. Their courage will tell you. Their accountability will tell you. Their effort will tell you. The mystery will begin to disappear because real love eventually moves from intuition into action. So breathe. Let your heart soften, but keep your discernment. You don't need to chase the ending. You don't need to force the sign. You don't need to manipulate destiny. If there is a conversation waiting to happen, let it happen naturally. If there is an apology waiting to be spoken, let them speak it. If there is a second chance waiting to unfold, let it be built one honest moment at a time. And if this chapter has taught you anything, let it be this: you were never waiting for someone else to choose your worth. You were learning to choose yourself. And that is why the energy has shifted. That is why their questions are becoming louder. That is why the possibility of losing you has finally become real to them. The person who once thought silence was safer is beginning to understand that silence can also become a permanent goodbye. And somewhere in their heart, they are preparing to make a choice. They can remain behind the wall they built, or they can finally open the door and tell you what happened, what they felt, what they regret, and what they want now. Whatever happens next, you are ready. You are not the same person who once waited anxiously for answers. You are wiser now. Stronger now. More aware of your value now. And when the moment arrives, you will not respond from fear. You will respond from clarity. You will know whether their words deserve your attention and whether their actions deserve your trust. This is the final message: don't chase the sign, be the sign. Be the reminder that real love requires courage. Be the proof that growth is possible. Be the person who knows that their heart can remain open without becoming unprotected. And if your soulmate finally steps forward, let them meet the new version of you, not the version who was waiting, but the version who learned how to love deeply while still choosing herself. Your story is not defined by silence. It is defined by what you do when the truth finally arrives. So breathe deeply, release the fear, and let the next moment come naturally. The universe does not need you to force what is meant for you. Your heart does not need to run after what is capable of meeting you. And whatever happens next, you are going to be okay. You are going to be stronger. You are going to understand more than you understand today. The sign may come through a message, a conversation, an unexpected encounter, or simply through the clarity that finally settles inside your own heart. But when it comes, remember this. You don't have to prove that you are worthy of love. You already are. And the person who truly belongs beside you will eventually understand that choosing you is not a sacrifice, it is a privilege. Stay grounded. Stay open. Stay true to yourself. And let the truth reveal itself in its own time. This chapter ends not with you waiting, but with you knowing your worth. And if your soulmate is ready to cross the distance, they now know exactly what they must do. The door is not yours to drag open. They must have the courage to knock. And when they do, you will decide whether the person standing outside has finally become the person your heart deserves.